it's Charlotte Hawkins here. Welcome to our podcast, Leaps and Hounds. It's all about dog training in conjunction with the Dogs Trust. And I've got Eloise from the Animal Behaviour team at the Dogs Trust. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Who can give us all the top tips. And I've kind of been talking about my new arrival, Moose, who's turned our lives upside down, but in the most joyful, amazing way. But, it can be hard work having a puppy. And, you do have to sort of put that work in the training earlier on. So this episode, our final episode in this series, we're going to talk about those early training steps that you need to take, because whether it's sort of recall, teaching them their name, walking on the lead, not jumping up, a bit about leaving them alone, actually these first steps can make all the difference. It's worth putting the hard work in early on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a lot of the very, very beginning stages might just be about starting to expose them to these things. So maybe not necessarily focusing on perfection with training, but starting to set them up for success, starting to get them into the habits of learning and understanding what training is, essentially.
So when you first get that new puppy, I guess things like, it knowing its name is number one, isn't it? How should you start off with things like recall and getting them to sit, lie down? What would you say are the priorities with that?
Yeah, so there's a few different things within that sort of group. When it comes to anything that requires their attention, so that's going to be loose lead walking, it's going to be their recall, it's going to be general focus work. I like to start off with a nice, simple focus game, just essentially where we have our puppy in front of us, we have lots of tasty treats, and all you would do is just start dropping some treats from the sky, just one after the other onto the floor. Your puppy's going to be having a great time, eating one after another, and then you might walk off and they'll look up and sort of go, oh, where have you gone? Where have all the good stuff gone? They'll come to you, and again, you just start dropping one after the other. You do that again. You just keep walking around in a little area, dropping one treat after another, and all your puppy is learning is, I'm going to stick by you because that's where the good stuff comes.
Yeah.
And, if we don't have that level of, I want to be with you, I want to pay you attention, we've kind of got no hope in starting with the recall, the loose lead walking, anything that requires their focus.
That's interesting. So you've got to kind of get that bond, that positivity going early on.
Yes, yeah.
And when it comes to things like, recall is like the most essential thing, isn't it? Because if you're out and about on a walk, when you get to the stage where you are letting your dog off the lead, if you do let your dog off the lead, you need to be like 100% certain that your dog's going to come back, don't you?
100%, yeah. So with training, there's going to be lots of different elements we're going to sort of practice this. So first of all, we would start really low-level distractions, so maybe indoors or in the garden. You would want to start practicing it over and over again, maybe adding in a bit further distance. Maybe you would want to start working on duration, so let them disengage for longer periods before trying to call them back again. And the most important thing when you are starting then to take it outside, you're battling a lot of distractions, a lot of things that unfortunately are probably going to be more exciting than us, smells, dogs, all of that kind of thing. So we're going to want to have a level of management there. Perhaps we use a slightly longer lead and start practicing that recall with that safety.
Get those long training leads, can't you? Because what I found was that, he's great in the back garden when there's nothing else around. He'll come back every time, but I'm then worried about that next leap where you take him out somewhere and then that's it, he might be off, and although he's perfectly behaved in the back garden, when there's other stuff going on it might not be the case. But there are sort of then halfway houses you can go to, aren't there, with a long training lead, for example?
Yeah, and I think we also need to look at what's motivating for that dog. So it might be that in the garden, the treats that we've got are the most reinforcing thing, the most motivating thing for our puppy at that time. But when we go outside, they might go, well, squirrel chasing over there, or you with the treats? I'm going to chase the squirrel. So we then need to go, how can we up the ante a little bit? How can we entice them a bit more? And maybe that's where we start playing sort of throwing games with the food rather than just sort of feeding it to their mouth. Perhaps we have a special raggy toy that comes out and then we sort of imitate a chase game when they come back to you. Or maybe when they come back to you, their reward is, okay, you get to now go over to that thing that you wanted to do, which might be playing with those other dogs.
Yeah.
We start using the environment to reward them.
So again, it's having that variety, isn't it? Because it's not always necessarily rewarding them with treats, because, say if you forget the treats one time, you want to know that they still come back to you. It's not all about the food, that actually your kind of love and praise is a treat in itself, isn't it? Which will then help.
Yeah, definitely. So mixing it up, sort of verbal praise, little fusses if that's what your puppy enjoys. And again, if you have forgotten your treats, what else can you use? Perhaps it's just giving them access to wherever they want to go, and we can use that as, we can kind of mark that behaviour and let that freedom be the reward. Access to other dogs. We really need to work out what's motivating for our puppy. And again, that's going to depend on that puppy, their breed, you know, what they typically like to do. So a little bit of preference testing maybe, and using that to our advantage.
But keep it all positive. What would you say, you know, if your dog isn't coming back, then, you know, you can't kind of tell them off, because you don't want them to think, well, I'm not going there because she's really cross with me. I mean, I was sort of told that you can do things like pretend there's something really interesting over here, and you're like, oh, what's this over here? And then they want to kind of come, or you make a funny noise and they suddenly look up. And there are different techniques you can use, aren't there, if just kind of calling them back isn't working?
Yeah, definitely. So when sort of teaching recall, I quite like to sort of, you would say your word, you're expecting them to come to you, and as they're approaching, if you sort of jog a couple of steps back, so it's just getting them into the habit of, or you move, I come, you know, wherever you go. And it's good to start these sort of training sessions really young, when they are pretty needy, you know, they want to be near us. Again, when they hit adolescence, that independence comes in and they start finding it a bit more fun to explore. So use that to our advantage, and sort of, whilst they're needy, whilst they depend on us, let's really sort of get in there with that training.
Okay, and everything like, you know, the teaching them the sit, the down, maybe to give you a paw, or you might not think, oh, that's not necessarily an essential thing to do early on, but it's all good in a sense for that bonding with your dog, for just getting your dog to listen to you, isn't it? And sort of reinforce, okay, I'm asking you to do something, so can you do this? You can kind of make it all a bit of a game for them, can't you?
Yeah, it has lots of benefits, because we're teaching them some manners. We can then use those sort of behaviours as management tools when we need to. So if you've got someone coming to greet them, or, you know, we can ask for a sit, or if we need them to lie down, we can, you know, teach those things and use it to our advantage at some point. But like you said, it's excellent for relationship building. It's a great mental sort of stimulation game, so it tires them out as well. And it boosts confidence, sort of teaching them nice, easy wins. Once they've learnt a sit, and you ask them for a sit, and then you say, well done, this was the best thing in the world, you see them get like a little bit of a kick out of it, for going, wow, I did the right thing.
Yeah.
So it has so many benefits.
And I think it's a good way to get kids involved as well, isn't it? I know with my daughter, and, you know, she does things like she'll get him to sit and wait, and then she'll try and put a treat down and keep getting him to wait. And all of these things, you know, are just kind of little things that you can sort of build up that level of control, but also, you know, helping other members of the family be involved with the training at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone enjoys it, don't they? Puppy enjoys it, people enjoy it, and yeah, it builds those nice sort of strong relationships.
What about things like jumping up? Because again, that's one of those things, we've talked about mouthing in the previous episode, but jumping up is something that can be a real bugbear for people. And also, interestingly, I mean, we've talked about it in the same way that they can do perfect recall in the garden. Sometimes, you know, with you, they won't jump up at you because they know you don't like it. But when guests come, all of a sudden they forget everything and they're leaping around. You know, what would your advice be on jumping up?
So dogs will do what works, essentially. What is reinforced, they will continue to do. So jumping up is a hard one, because I think initially it's all that excitement, that burst of energy, and it's a kind of natural thing to just jump. But ultimately, probably what they're trying to gain is a bit of attention. Sometimes we can have it where dogs are worried and it's a nervous energy, but typically in puppies, they want that attention, so they're going up to that person and jumping up. And most people will then go, oh my God, cute puppy, I'm going to bend down, give them a fuss. So for sort of stopping them jumping up, we need to almost preempt it. So again, this is kind of maybe telling everyone who's going to come into contact with your puppy, I'm trying to do a bit of training, can you stand there and not praise them until all four paws are on the ground?
Yeah.
If your puppy does really, really struggle with it, maybe it's, I'm going to scatter some treats on the ground when someone's coming to greet them, just a noses to the ground. It's teaching them something incompatible with springing up. And eventually we might want to teach them a specific sort of, you know, cue. So it might be we ask them to sit or down, or sometimes I find stationary behaviours a bit challenging, where they're so full of energy. Asking them for a stationary sit, sometimes a bit hard.
Yeah.
So you could do like a hand target, so they can sort of run to your hand to touch it, then your other hand to touch it. They're getting rid of that excitable energy.
Okay, that's a good idea. So you teach them that maybe in a different environment, and then they're used to then coming to your hand perhaps for a treat or something. So then you can sort of distract them while someone's there.
Exactly, yeah.
So sometimes it's just working out strategies, isn't it, to cope with these things. But I guess that varies with the dog's personality at the same time, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But once they learn, you know, because the other thing is if they do jump up, we need to not reinforce that with our attention. So we might have to stand there completely boring and ignore them, or someone else might have to call them away to help them out. But making sure, because ultimately they want that attention, as soon as those paws are on the ground, we do get down and greet them to let them know.
Okay, let's look now at lead training, because this can be quite a tricky one, can't it? You know, getting them to walk to heel. With my last dog, Bailey, she was just on the way to a walk. She was always way too excited. I spent so many hours, days, weeks, months, it felt like, trying to get her to walk to heel. But she was so excited. It was a real challenge, actually. With Moose, I've been kind of, you know, taking him around here at home, inside, on the lead, just getting him used to it, trying to get him to heel. But it's quite difficult early on, isn't it? When you want to get them out for a walk and you've got a lot of things to contend with, you're thinking, well, he's not going to walk perfectly to heel every single time I take him out. So for the time being, he knows what it is, but I'm not really strict at the moment about enforcing it, because I'm sort of hoping I can follow up with that later. Is that okay? Do you think, you know, I don't know how strict you should be on heel walking, loose lead walking right from the start?
No, I think that's absolutely fine, and something I would do as well. So it is actually a really, really difficult skill for dogs to walk to heel. It's such an unnatural sort of pace for them to walk. They've got twice as many legs as us, and are naturally sort of speedier. So it is a skill we do have to work hard at. And I think in those really, really early stages, we should be focusing more on our sort of puppies' emotional well-being. You know, they're going out for walks for the very first time, so we want to make sure they're confident and having a good time. But that's not to say we can't start rewarding some good choices. So again, every time they look up at you, I would capture that behaviour and say, good boy, and give him a little treat. Or maybe every now and again you stop and just scatter some like pieces of food on the ground. Again, good stuff comes when you're next to me. So we can start teaching those sort of foundational focus skills at the beginning. Once they're a lot more confident, we can then maybe do the more formal sort of walking to heel side of stuff.
Yeah, good. I mean, because at the moment, you know, inside here, he'll walk perfectly to heel, not so much outside when there's a lot going on. But like you say, I guess you can kind of build up to that in that case. As long as you start those sort of building blocks early, then at least you've got the stuff to work with. But you just don't want them pulling on the lead, do you? Because you don't want them to sort of injure themselves if they're scrabbling around really keen to get to wherever. So a level of management is good, isn't it, while you're out on the walk?
Yeah, no, definitely. And, you know, it's one of those things that can be really frustrating for the dog and for the handler for teaching loose lead walking. So as you've sort of done building it up in the home first, what you'd then do on a walk is not go, right, I'm going to sort of expect to walk from A to B with loose lead walking 100% of the time. It might be that you go, today I'm going to walk from this wheelie bin to this tree, and I'm going to practice loose lead walking, and I'm going to do that every day. And once my puppy has cracked that, I'm going to start it from this wheelie bin.
Extend it a bit more.
Exactly,
okay,
yeah.
That's good to know. And when we look at sort of leaving our dog on its own, separation anxiety is another big thing, isn't it? You know, a lot of people got a puppy in lockdown, or they had a new dog and then they were around the whole time, and then of course they went back to the office and there was a big issue with dogs then being left on their own that weren't used to being on their own. I was talking about the fact that I'm crate training Moose, so he is in the crate. We can kind of leave him there for a couple of hours because he's used to sort of, sometimes I'll get him out on a more frequent basis, sometimes I'll kind of leave him just to make sure that he's happy in there. But what would you say to people about good tips to encourage a dog having that independence so you can leave them for a certain amount of time?
Yeah, there's a few things. And again, this is a really difficult one because dogs are naturally social animals. If they had the choice, they would probably be with us. So a few things I recommend is to start sort of these like mini independence games. So that might be you set up a load of enrichment in one room. So by that I mean a rolled up towel with some treats. It could be a Kong, a chew, just a few little food-based enrichment stuff. And then you would go and take yourself off out of sight. In this game, we're not closing any doors, there's no barriers. The idea is that our puppy is choosing to take themselves away from us, not the other way around. So they've got choice and autonomy in the matter. So hopefully they're going to go, oh, I've just seen you put all of this nice stuff here. I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to take myself away from you. Puppies who are a bit more insecure, they might sort of trot back and check in on you. Are you still there? Okay, I'm going to carry on and go and do it. But this is just a nice way to start teaching them. You take yourself away from me and nice things will happen, sort of around the home. Again, I would practice this in an area where you are planning on leaving them. So you could put everything in the crate if that's what you're using. It might be a specific area in the home. And we could just start building upon this then. Once they're comfortable sort of going and taking themselves off around the home, we might then think about leaving the house. And for tips to come in at that point, I suggest working it into the puppy's routine. So make sure they've had all their needs met. They've been for a nice walk. They're typically due a nap. This is probably the perfect time to trial leaving the house in very, very small increments. So we need to manage our expectations. We need to build it up slower to have more success in the long run.
Good to know. So with all of these kind of training tips, really, it's about small steps, getting those building blocks in place. And, you know, sadly, you're not going to get overnight results, are you? It does sort of, it's worth putting the effort in, but it will be hard work, I think it's safe to say, isn't it? We're going to put all this to the test now, aren't we? Because we're going to release the hound. So Moose is the star of the show. We've been talking about him for this whole series of Leaps and Hounds. So I think it's about time you met him. So he's just asleep in his crate at the moment. Let's get him out and see how he reacts. He's going to be very excited to be out. There's lots of Moose, Moose. He's a good boy. Yeah, good boy. Sit. Good boy. Luckily, I've got these treats here that he absolutely loves, and he'll basically do anything for these. But I have to say, it's amazing having a puppy, but it can be hard work, and they don't always do what they're told. Moose, Moose, Moose.
Oh, bless him.
Good boy. Sit. Good boy. There's a good boy. He is very good, but he is a work in progress. And I would just say to anybody that, you know, keep at it. I think you have this kind of amazing vision of a lovely sort of well-behaved puppy that's just going to curl up cutely on your lap. And then when you get this thing that he, you know, he'll be mouthing, he'll be not doing what you're telling him to do, and you think, oh my goodness, what on earth is all of this about? Or chewing your notes as he's doing now. You know, it's a phase, isn't it? It will kind of pass.
Yeah. I mean, I've spent the day now with Moose, and he is a very, very, very well-behaved puppy. And like you said, there are sort of people that are going to be in the thick of puppy blues, maybe finding it really challenging. So what would you say your top tips have been? Yeah,
so I think for me it was sort of just making all of the training positive, making it a game, trying to sort of stay calm and chilled, having that consistency, knowing the boundaries, I think, as well, and getting everybody in the household to be consistent about that. But, you know, you do have to put the hard work in, but I think all of that sort of, it does pay off, and then you just get the most beautiful, adorable dog at the end of it. But, you know, it's always going to be challenging, and people talk about that whole, the puppy blues, and it's like, oh, it's driving me crazy. But they are such beautiful, beautiful creatures that bring a lot of joy. And he's just, honestly, he's been such a superstar, even if he's a bit naughty every now and again.
Oh, bless him.
We'll get there. We will get there. Good boy. Yeah, I know. You want some more of this, don't you? And also get some good treats, because if you find a treat that your dog absolutely loves, then they'll kind of do anything for it. Look how well behaved he is now.
Food is the way to their heart, definitely.
I know. There we go. Good boy. Well, listen, thank you so much for watching and listening to Leaps and Hounds. That was the last episode in the third series, where we've got to introduce Moose to everybody and talk about his training journey and basically what you do to help settle a new dog in if you get a new puppy. Good boy. You've been very well behaved, haven't you? Thank you so much, Eloise, for all your expertise. It's been great to have you on board. And that's it. We'll see you soon. Bye.